Hey Bronze Brigade, we're coming at you with another video today talking about the top 5 comic books that I'm not buying this week. That's right, I'm Christopher aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and in this video I'm going to recap the 5 comic books that I won't buy this week that are on the hot comic book list. So that includes stuff like the Key Collector Training 20, CBSI Hot 10, and COVRPRICE Top 10. Now jumping right in, I usually save the most controversial pick in my opinion till the 5th pick, but I'm actually going to say this might be the most controversial pick. I'm putting Dark X-Men #1 Fall of X, the Adam Hughes 1 in 50 variant on the list. This is a really great cover, however, I'm just not buying it when it comes to ratios right now. I have a feeling that most ratios are being propped up by speculators, and I think that market is starting to run a little thin, and this is sort of my message to the speculators out there that I don't think this is sustainable. So hey, even if I get proven wrong, we've still had that message out there. Let's move on to book number 4. And this is, interestingly enough, also an Adam Hughes book, not somebody I usually would bet against, but this is Invisible Woman #1. Now, I like this cover just fine. I own a copy of it. I really just have this problem where I think that this book is not good specs, because the reason why it's had an increase in sales, according to Key Collector, is that there's interest in the idea of Sue Storm leading the Fantastic Four movie. So here's my logic behind this one. The idea that it's going to be a Sue Storm-led movie is what's apparently catapulting the sales on this book. The only way a Fantastic Four movie is really going to be successful is if all 4 of members of the Fantastic Four shine. If you don't nail that family dynamic, it's not going to work. I don't see the idea of like Sue Storm leading the Fantastic Four. Is that what we're saying? Like, that's just a weird thing to me. I don't even necessarily think of Mr. Fantastic as leading the Fantastic Four normally, as much as it is now just a conglomeration of them. Sure, I guess technically that's the truth, but yeah, it just doesn't add up to me. And if that is the case, there's a large segment of the population of comic book collectors out there that isn't going to be cool with that. It's not going to do well for this comic book. At number 3 on the list is Blue Beetle #1. This is the 2006 series, and it's the first solo ongoing series with Jaime Reyes. So look, Blue Beetle, I haven't seen it yet. I still want to. I just haven't had a chance to. It still isn't doing very well, and it brings me no joy to say that the Blue Beetle film has been a flop, but I think by all standards, that's what's happened so far. So last week I had Infinite Crisis #5 on the list, and it's really going to be hard for me to believe that this book is going to somehow overtake that book in spec, or be something that people really want to latch onto. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is and not buying it this week either. All right, this is actually a book that I think is probably long-term a decent, I don't know about investment, but a good book to own, and that's Amazing Spider-Man 569. This is, according to Key Collector, the first cameo appearance of Anti-Venom. Now, it saw a modest 100% increase in sales by Key Collector's metrics, or what numbers they're reporting. By the way, would be really nice if you guys actually disclosed how you're finding that, but hey, whatever. But anyways, yeah, it's just a modest increase in sales, and this is a book where, honestly, the second printing with Anti-Venom on the cover has always been much more desirable. This book does okay on its own, but it's an uninspiring cover. It's not the book that people think of. It's not the full appearance, and it's not the character on the cover. But I did say, and I'm sticking by it, that I think that this book long-term isn't bad. I think that this book has okay potential, long-term, but I wouldn't buy it when it's on the list this week. I would hold off for a couple months and pick it up then. Which brings us to the #1 book on the list, and that is Star Wars 43 from the Marvel run. That is the first appearance of Lando Calrissian. It's also the second appearance of Boba Fett, kind of, depending on how you count the appearances of Boba Fett. But in a standard comic book, I guess, sure. And here's what's really interesting about this book. Just kind of diving into the numbers for a second, this book actually was going for a lot of money back in January of 2021. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, of course, a lot of comic books were going for a lot of money in January 2021. This comic book in a 9.8 was going for $1,139. Now, currently, it is going for about a fifth of that. So between $200 and $300 for the 9.8 sales. So even if this book skyrockets in 5x's in price, it is not going to be at its highest price ever. It is still a Star Wars key, and Star Wars keys are something that I will never bet against. So I'm not saying never buy this book, and that's very important that you remember that. What I'm suggesting is this is a perfect candidate for holding off. There is likely going to be some sort of new Lando Calrissian project coming out. I'm not up on the news. I think Donald Glover's involved. I'm not really sure exactly what's going to happen, but I can tell you one thing for sure. It's not going to happen in the middle of all these strikes. You're not going to see any kind of news moving forward on it. So I think there's plenty of time to let the heat from this week's hot list cool off and pick up that book. And I think it is kind of actually a decent time to pick that up again, in a couple months, I would swoop in and pick this up and feel pretty good about it, because if it ever does have that potential, we know it can get to $1,000 plus 9.8. And again, you just don't bet against Star Wars. There's a never tell me the odds joke in there somewhere that I'm too tired to make. But yeah, you get the point. I wouldn't do it. I just think that I wouldn't buy it this week too. But I do want to take a second to thank all of my channel members who have been very supportive over the last couple of years and have really helped me get this channel to where it is now, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I also want to take a second to say thank you to the community members that did nominate me for best speculation and investment content in a channel with 5,000 or less subscribers, and that is for this series of videos that I make. And it means a lot to me that I'd be nominated for a series like this, because this isn't traditional speculation content. I'm not saying you should buy these comic books. I'm saying the opposite. I'm trying to, cool the jets on FOMO. And for enough people to like that enough to nominate me, that really means a lot to me. I did win in this category last year, so it's an honor to be back here nominated again this year. Hey, that'd be really cool. Maybe we can win 2 years in a row. That would be really awesome. Until next time, I just want to thank you guys all again for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget, hey. Read comics every day.